Hello guys, welcome back. So in this lecture, we are going to take a look at some of the ways using which you can initialize instance variables. Okay. So basically you have created an object and the object has certain variables in it, okay, which is defined by the class, okay, and you want to initialize them. So what would be the ways to do so? Okay. By the end of this lecture, you will have a better understanding of what are the different ways using which you can initialize the instance variables, okay? And we will also take a look at each one of them with the help of an example, okay? So let's get started. So basically, there are three ways to initialize instance variables, okay? The first one is at the time of the declaration. So whenever you declare a instance variable in the class, that is when you can initialize that particular variable. Second way is by using something called as method, okay, and the third way is from the main class using reference variable. So let's take a look at the first one, which is at the time of declaration, okay. So I have already created this particular project called as ways to initialize object, okay, and I have two classes over here. One is the car class, which has certain variables in it, and a method display which displays this particular information. And I have a main class, okay, which doesn't have any code but a main method in it, okay. So first method says at the time of the declaration. So what does that mean? Now at the time of declaration means here is where you are declaring the particular variables, okay, of the classes, okay, and here is where you can initialize them. So I'll call it Tesla S, or I can say model S, okay, color is red, okay, seats is equal to 4, okay. So this is how you initialize the variables, instance variables at the time of the declaration, okay. Now this approach is not recommended. The reason is obviously you must have guessed it, that every instance you create for this particular class will have the same values that you have mentioned over here, okay. So just to give you an example, if I create an object of the class car, okay, and class car Ferrari, or let's say C is equal to new car, okay, and I have another car C1 is equal to new car, okay. Now C dot display and C1 dot display. So basically if I run the program, okay, so if I run the class, I'll see that both the object have the same values for their members, okay, and that is what you see over here, okay. So this approach is not at all recommended, but this is still a way to initialize the class members, okay. Let's take a look at the second method, which is using a method, okay. So basically what that means is you can initialize the class members using a method. So I'll will call a method over here, c dot initialize, okay, and I'll pass uh, model S, okay, red, and I'll pass the number of seats, which is 4, okay. We don't have this method over here, so I'll see a red bulb over here and it says create method initialize in car. I just click this and there you have this particular method created automatically by the IDE, okay. This is one of the benefits of using Intellij, okay. So we automatically have the parameters also defined over here. So it says a model, then red, and it says integer I, okay. So I'm just going to initialize the class members with this particular parameters, okay. So it's going to be model is equal to model S, okay. It's going to be red, oh sorry, color is equal to red, okay, and seats is equal to I, okay. And I'm just going to remove this default values because we don't need them anymore, okay. And I will also, Oh, I did a spelling mistake over here. Initialize. It's initialize. I missed A over here. Okay. And I'm going to do the same method call. Okay. Initialize for C1 as well. Okay. So it will be model S2. I'll just call it. Okay. Black. Okay. And the number of seat it has is 2. Okay. And we are just then displaying both the objects. Okay. So what we are doing over here is we have created two objects. Okay, car C and car C1. Okay, and then we have called initialize method, which accepts three parameters, which is model, color, and the number of seats. And then we have displayed this particular information. So I'll just run this particular code. Okay, and let's see the output. So it should print these particular values for both these objects. Okay. Oh, so we are getting null values over here. Model is null, color is null. Okay. Let's see what's the reason for this. Okay, model is equal to model S, color is equal to red. Okay. Oh, so we didn't initialize C1. We actually should have mentioned C1 over here. Okay. And I'll just run this code again. So there you see the output. Okay. So we are seeing both the objects have been initialized with whatever parameters we have passed. So this is a way of initializing the instance variables again. The second way is using the methods. Okay. Now the drawback of this particular thing is it's definitely better than the first step. Okay, wherein we were declaring at the where we were initializing at the time of the declaration. But over here we are at least able to provide the values that we want for each and every instance. Okay, but the drawback over here is if you have to create 1,000 objects, okay, of a particular class in a real world project, then you have to write the 1,000 statements of initialization. So this statement you have to repeat every time you for every object. Okay, and this increases the length and the complexity of the code, and this is not a good programming practice. Okay, so over here only you must have noticed I did a mistake that I initialized uh, accidentally C over here instead of C1. Okay, and then we were getting null values when we printed C1. So these sort of errors are possible. Okay, and if the code is lengthy, okay, so this code is very short. Okay, and hence we were able to identify the error. But if the code is lengthy, then it becomes really difficult to figure out where the error is and what is the mistake that you have done. Okay, but this is a second way of initializing the member variables. Okay, class members, and let's take a look at the third way. Okay, which is from the main class using reference variable. Okay, so I'll just comment this code over here. So let's initialize the members of object C using this third step. Okay, so you have to like C dot, you have to do C dot model is equal to model S. Okay, then C dot color is equal to red. Okay, and then you have to do C dot seats is equal to 4. Okay, so I have to put a semicolon. Okay, so this is how you initialize from the main class using reference variable. Okay, now for this particular method, for this particular way, okay, of initializing the class members, okay, the member variables have to be public. Okay, which means that public basically means this particular variable can be accessed from anywhere. Okay, so if I change this public to private, okay, you compiler will immediately throw an error that private cannot be accessed from outside the class. Okay, so When you declare any variable as private, it just tells the compiler that the access for this particular variable is restricted to within the class. Okay, so I can access model within the class, but I cannot access model now from outside the class. Okay, and that is what private means. Okay, so I'll just change this to public, and the error goes away. So this is the drawback of this particular method over here, which is the third method. Okay, which says that you can initialize the class members from the main class using the reference variable. Okay, so this particular object variable over here, car C, which is nothing but C over here, is nothing but the reference variable. Okay, which we are using to access its members. Okay, so there are three members this object has, and we are trying to access it using the dot operator. Okay, so this method is actually not recommended because the first thing is the variables have to be public for this particular method to be used. Okay, and also imagine now the length of the code if you have 100 variables over here. So if you are using a class which has 100 variables, you have to write this initialization code 100 times, which is not at all again recommended. Okay, it increases the length and complexity of the code, which is very bad for real world projects. So these are the various ways using which you can initialize instance variables. Okay, and I hope you guys enjoyed this class and found it valuable. I'll see you guys in the next class. Thank you.